Karim Khan and his colleague Kato Kigan want to Ocampo probe, but there's one glaring question now hanging in the minds of Kenyans. After that decision by the ICC judges, who exactly was responsible for the political meddling with the witnesses? Let's put this question to the Deputy President's ICC defense lawyer, Karim Khan, Queen's Counsel, who is joining us live on the Jeff Koinange live set. Mr. Khan, your client is the politician here. Were the judges basically pointing an accusing finger at your client or his allies for the so-called political interference?
But I think your question starts from the wrong premise. If there was a fair question, it should start with the innocence of His Excellency William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, and the findings not of counsel but of the judges that the prosecution witnesses were liars. So the case against William Ruto has been shown to be so weak, so flawed and so deceptive that no reasonable trial chamber could convict. That's the headline and that's the story.
Right. Now, legal experts, including the victims' lawyers, believe that all Bensouda needs is fresh evidence to restart this case. Can this case be restarted successfully?
You know, so-called legal experts and victims' lawyers thought all that was needed was for 6 people to be named and there would be a conviction. They thought this was a done deal. They thought that there would be regime change in Kenya. They thought Kenyans were so weak that they would say choices have consequences. They would get a different set of leaders that were amenable to outside interests. Kenyans were not naive. They made a right decision, and the court process, fortunately, after a lot of work by the defense teams, showed by the independent review by experienced judges, read Judge Fremer's very careful model decision, that the evidence was distinguished by gaping holes, contradictions, fallacies and lies. It was a case that we said at the outset that should never have been brought. It is a case that has collapsed after far too long, but we are nonetheless relieved, as are most Kenyans, most right-thinking people who know anything about the case and who want justice, not crucifixion, that it's finally ended.
Mr. Khan, the ICC trial chamber, the verdict of the ICC trial chamber was a mistrial. Do you agree with the judges?
I agree with the judges that no reasonable trial chamber could possibly convict on the evidence. After a process that started on the 15th of December 2010, after 2.5 years of trial, after more than 30 witnesses being called and cross-examined, and being confronted by the defense with the constant cooperation of William Ruto and my team, the judges have agreed with us that no reasonable trial chamber could convict, even to the low standard, Ben, even to the low standard at half-time. I think the real question for any journalist that wants the truth is how on earth did it get this far? How come a dead dog of a case managed to walk so far? Who dragged it here? And why was it not buried long ago? But the headline is, thank God for William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang and their families and the people of Kenya, that the judges have agreed with us that no reasonable chamber could possibly convict. They were presumed innocent 6 years ago. They remain innocent after the best efforts of the prosecution, millions of pounds spent of ICC resources, prosecutors in the country, registry, all the rest of it, all the witnesses, all the cooperation was given, and the case has been buried, rightly so. I say rest in peace.
Mr. Khan, very quickly, what is your take on the investigations carried out by former Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo?
Well, what investigations? Shoddy. He took a corrupted, flawed, inadequate, deficient, wacky report. He liaised with certain civil society groups, repackaged it in some nice ribbons, and rebranded it ICC, and thought somehow it would go through and there would be a conviction. There'd be 6 convictions. But you know, a 6-0 defeat, you know, really even Leicester can't get that kind of result.
Thank you, sir.